right now. Pleased to have with us on the show from the New York Post, Mr. Michael Walsh. How you doing, Michael? Michael, are you with us?
I'm doing great, Sam.
All right, thanks.
How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for coming on the program tonight.
Hey, you're welcome.
And, as always, we really appreciate your coverage in the New York Post of Operation Fast and Furious. You were one of the few columnists in the country that continues to shine a spotlight on this case and everything that's going on. You write about Attorney General Eric Holder. Now the process of holding Eric Holder in contempt of Congress has begun. You say that this is a pretty strong term and one with tangible legal consequences, but how else could you describe Holder's, quote, continuing obstructionism in the Fast and Furious scandal other than contempt of Congress?
Exactly, and that seems to be what Darrell Issa, he's coming to the same conclusion. So he sent him another tough letter this week. But the point of my column was, enough tough letters. Let's get moving.
Well, and it looks like this is the first step towards actually doing this. I know that Representative Issa had requested these documents be turned over by February the 9th. That request was not met by the Justice Department. And then Representative Issa, has basically said, look, enough is enough. We heard Speaker Boehner say today that the Justice Department has failed to comply with these deadlines and that enough is enough. So it appears as if we are actually starting to see the wheels move forward and the proceedings against Eric Holder, maybe starting. I know that this is a serious step to take, and certainly with the way the media coverage has been slanted, the Democrats on the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, by and large, have continued to insist that this is nothing more than a political witch hunt. I understand that caution and care has to be taken. You don't want to make any mistakes with this, but at the same time, look, it doesn't look like Eric Holder intends to comply with any of these document requests, at least not with some of them.
No, he doesn't intend to comply with any of them. I mean, he's just told the Congress to stick it. So I think what people on the right want to see at this point is some action. I'm really tired of hearing John Boehner tell us what a tough guy he is and then do absolutely nothing. He gets rolled every single time by the Democrats. And until our side starts to stand up and have some tangible consequences, why would we believe them? No wonder we lose all the time.
Well, I got to say, we've been following this case now for well over a year. And while the Justice Department has been, I think, outrageous in their responses, handing over documents that are in essence fully redacted, just a black piece of paper, and saying that they've complied with the document request.
But that's just an insult to Congress.
Absolutely. And, increasingly I think this is being seen as an insult to the Terry family, who are still waiting for answers. After Eric Holder testified the last time, Brian Terry's mom called Eric Holder a coward. Said that had very
he wouldn't apologize to the mother of the slain Border Patrol.
Absolutely. So I think moving forward this year, Michael, if this story starts to resonate emotionally with Americans, if they start to understand that here we are more than a year later, and this government hasn't provided very simple answers to this Border Patrol agent's family, much less to the American people, about how on earth this thing was supposed to work.
Right.
We can get lost in the weeds about how many documents have been requested, how many documents have been turned over, but the bottom line is the administration has not provided the most basic of answers regarding Operation Fast and Furious, and it's been well over a year now.
It's ridiculous, and it's clear that they're not going to comply. That's the point. At what point do you lose your credulity? Do you stop being Charlie Brown in the football and you say, oh, I get it, these guys are never going to turn over these documents, because clearly whatever went on is going to implicate people way up the chain. So they figure they can foul the pitch off until after the election, and if Obama gets reelected, then what do they care? At that point, they're going to go full speed with their Second Amendment attack anyway.
Right.
This will all just be a big laugh.
So, Michael, when you write about this for the New York Post, are you getting a lot of responses? Is this story resonating with your audience?
Well, I think so. Every one of these columns makes real clear politics. Just every time we treat this subject, we're up there, on the top 20 best editorial columns of the day on RCP, which is, as you know, is a nonpartisan site. So
right.
I'll be up there with Tom Friedman and my old friend Maureen Dowd, and people on the right as well. So I think there's a great hunger for this. It's clear that the mainstream media doesn't want to go near this because Holder, is protected by the same invisible shield that Obama and many of the other members of the administration are. The media will not go after them. I don't think I'm after them. I think what I'm doing is trying to ask questions that could easily be answered, as
right.
Isa says, but they don't want to answer them. And until they do, we got to stay on them.
Absolutely, and as you say, these aren't difficult questions. They're really not. I know Holder made a big deal about going to Congress 6 times, and why am I still coming here? Well, the answer is because you haven't given any straight answers in any of those appearances. I mean, a question, Michael, as basic as, how is this supposed to work? I mean, just walk us through how on earth this was ever going to be successful.
Yeah, and who started this? Whose idea was it? You must know that.
Oh, he says we may. He says we may never know.
Well, yeah, but unless the answer is Eric Holder, what other explanation can there possibly be? He can fire anybody he wants down that chain of command. They've already thrown Dennis Burke out the window.
Right.
And remember, he used to be Napolitano's chief of staff.
Yeah.
So if you think that Homeland Security didn't know about this operation, you just fell off a rutabaga.
Oh, but Janet Napolitano says she didn't know a thing about Operation Fast and Furious.
Why would she?
Yeah.
Because her boy was running the whole operation, right?
Well, not only that, but now, I don't know if you saw this, I guess it was last week, the former head of the DEA office in Tucson, Arizona, came out and said, look, we didn't know it as Operation Fast and Furious, but we knew that guns were being walked because there was an ICE team, I guess, that actually interdicted some of the guns. And then we're told, no, go ahead, let them go. So DEA knew about it, ICE knew about it, DHS did know about it, and you can't tell me again that these field agents would not have talked about this with their supervisors and asked what the heck's going on here.
Yeah, we sure know that the ATF field agents said, what are we doing? I mean, wait a minute, this is totally against policy, and you're telling me I have to let these guys buy these guns, I track them to a warehouse, and then I'm pulled off the surveillance case. And whoops, what do you know? The guns disappear into Mexico. And how the heck should I supposed to know where they are? I mean, this is just, it defies credibility.
It certainly
Unless
does.
There's a more sinister point behind it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing now. We've got 2 options. We've got the excuses and the spin from the administration, which boils down to, look, we're really incompetent. I mean, we are just grossly incompetent. We had no idea that this was going on. Even when the head of the criminal division of the Department of Justice learned about gun walking, he didn't ask basic questions. When Eric Holder's deputy chief of staff was informed that guns from Operation guns that were sold as part of a law enforcement investigation were found at the murder scene of Brian Terry, we're supposed to believe he didn't tell his boss. And that no questions were asked about that. So, either the Obama administration's excuse, which is gross incompetence, is the case, or as you say, there is a hidden agenda here that the Justice Department really does not want the public to uncover.
Exactly. There's either the stupidity explanation, and that is grotesque stupidity.
Yeah.
Or there's a sinister explanation, and that's the one that you and I have talked about in the past, and many of my readers, are subscribing to, which is this was a way to set up legitimate gun dealers in the Southwest and make them take the fall as part of a crackdown on our Second Amendment rights.
Absolutely.
I don't know. What are you hearing, Cam? You talk to people all the time about that.
Well, again, what I'm hearing, frankly, is a lot of frustration. People do want to see this investigation move forward. But, the problem is, again, I think you've got to get your ducks in a row on this. Once you get, if a special prosecutor were appointed tomorrow, all of the public hearings would come to a halt. We wouldn't know any more than what's in the public record until the investigation is completed. Right. I know Representative Isa has said in the past that he wants to make sure as much of this gets out there before it's turned over to a special prosecutor or a special investigator because he's really concerned about, a cover-up occurring once that takes place. So, his attitude is the more of this that's out in the public record, the better off we're going to be in the end. But, I think the idea that the Obama administration was wanting to use Fast and Furious to push for more gun control is frankly, becoming more and more accepted every day. You know, look at what Eric Holder did when he was before the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee. He used Operation Fast and Furious to call for more gun control.
Right.
And we're supposed to believe that it's beyond the pale, that's why Fast and Furious was dreamt up?
Exactly. I mean, in the immediate aftermath of the revelation of this program, they issue another demand letter to tell dealers they have to register sales of however many guns, per month. All of a sudden, they crack down on the dealers. Look, I don't think you can put anything past this crew, and this is clearly a group of people who believe that the ends justify the means, and they've been pushing the 90% lie as hard as they could, even before this operation was uncovered. So they're just basically setting up the gun dealers in the Southwest. I just had a chance to drive the whole Southwest border. I went from El Paso and Juarez all the way over to Columbus, New Mexico, and you're only about 450 feet from the border at that point.
Yeah.
And then I talked to some border agents in Columbus, where there's a Border Patrol station there. And then I went into Arizona and got moved away from the border. But it was quite an interesting experience to see how good those guys are and what a massive amount of territory they have to patrol. And by the way, there is no fence on the New Mexican border. It's barbed wire. You could walk over it in a second.
Really?
Oh, yeah. There's some walls type. Obviously, Juarez looks like a fort, and then Columbus has the wall extending out a mile or so in each direction. But most of that time, when you're riding Highway 8 through New Mexico, there's nothing there but you and the tumbleweed, man. And the Border Patrol, big white SUVs with the green stripes, and they're every half a mile, quarter of a mile apart, and they're on the case. But it's just nothing between you and Mexico. I'm telling you, it's amazing.
Talking with Michael Walsh from the New York Post. Michael, as always, sir, it's a real pleasure to get a chance to speak with you, sir. I hope we can do it again very soon.
Hey, Cam, always a pleasure to talk to you, too. Thanks so much for having me.
You bet. Michael Walsh, New York Post columnist, a brand new book out from Michael as well.